Hi, this is Karen Gaines, your nonprofit finance guide, and today we are going to talk about 5 errors that I've seen nonprofit organizations make. So, I've worked with quite a few nonprofit organizations over the years, okay? And I've seen many of them make the same type of errors. Um, they make those errors pretty consistently. So I'm just going to talk about, 5 of them that I've seen. So let's go ahead and get started. So, number one, um, the number one error that I see is that the financial statements are not fully understood. And this really comes into light when I take on a new client. And the first place I go to is the balance sheet. And so I'm reviewing the balance sheet and I see that there are some accounts that don't exactly make sense. And I ask the CEO, executive director, ask someone, hey, exactly what are these balances for? And they're like, I'm not really sure. Or some of the amounts on the balance sheet, they either they don't tie to anything, or there's nobody knows what the balances are for. There's just no reconciliation or explanation for it. Okay, so when you don't know what's on your balance sheet, that's an indicator that there's a lack of understanding in your financial statements. Okay, I also notice that when it comes to the board of directors, there's really a lot of times there's no one on there that has a strong financial background. And maybe it's because they just couldn't find anyone with a strong financial background to serve on their board of directors, but there's not one. And so, the board of directors, they don't know what to ask. Even when it comes to the finance committee finance committee, um, the members, those members, a lot of times, they don't have a financial background. Even though they're on the finance committee, they often don't have any type of financial background, and so they don't know what to look for. They don't know what to ask. And what happens or what could potentially happen is that the wrong financials could be getting produced and nobody knows it. Okay, so that's the number one error that I see with nonprofits. And I think a good way to remedy that is maybe just ask a CPA to just do like a high level review of your financial statements and ask, hey, does everything look right? And does everything seem legit? Because they'll know what to look for and what questions to ask. All right. Number two. Number two error that I see is that grants are not tracked properly. They're tracked incorrectly, or they're not tracked at all. All right. And I do see this as well sometimes. Nonprofits will have grants and they're just not tracking it. They're not tracking how they use it. They are spending money against the grant, but they're not keeping track of what they've spent the money on. And this definitely leads to problems. Definitely leads to problems because at some point the funder or the grantor is going to want to going to want to understand, hey, what exactly are you spending the money on? Is it per the agreement that we set up? And nonprofits can really get in trouble when there is an audit as well. All right. So grants, every so often I see grants tracked on a spreadsheet, and that's okay. But really, all grants should be tracked on an accounting software. I use QuickBooks, and grants can definitely be tracked using the QuickBooks online system. So, if this is your case, I would strongly recommend you start tracking that stuff on your accounting software. And I will also even say, even if you have a small grants that you're using, track that. Track how you are using those funds so that the grantor um, is able to, again, if asked, you can say, hey, I'm using it for X, Y, Z purposes, and, here's the backup. All right. Next one, number three. Number three error that I see nonprofits make is that there's no strategic planning or goal setting. A lot of times, leadership and the executive director, they're so involved in the day-to-day activity of the nonprofit, they don't take the time out to, do some game planning, do some strategic planning, just like, really just kind of think about their nonprofit. And it's important that you take that time out, schedule that time. And sometimes, it definitely can be hard to do because there's so much to do. But I do believe that it's important. So, take time out to reflect. Take some time out to reflect on what you've done. And then, kind of think, start thinking about where you want to go. Where do you want to be? Where do you want your nonprofit to be? How many people or members or consumers you want to help, whatever, your nonprofit consists of. And that way, you have a goal that you can, reach towards. You have something that you can measure your success. And it's really, just think of it like a compass. Your day-to-day activities, you know, uh, should be leading to your goals. It'll be a lot easier to make decisions because your decisions are going to be based on the goals you have set. And so your day-to-day activities are going to be more meaningful and on purpose. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So number four error that I see is that the executive directors are overworked. Like they work so hard, and I think there's several reasons for this. It's not. I don't think it's just one reason. There's several reasons for this. One is, some just lack resources. They don't have a lot of funding. They don't have a lot of money to hire individuals to help them with some of the tasks that they do. I've seen other executive directors, they just need to do the task themselves, okay? And they're more so like, if I can't do it, nobody can. Like they have a hard time delegating. They don't want their board of directors really doing anything. They don't want anyone else helping with anything. They are the types that want to do everything themselves and they want to be involved in every single thing, which is a problem because, it pretty much wastes their time. They could be focusing on their business, but instead they're focused on, tasks that someone could do, tasks that could easily be delegated to someone else. Okay. Um, Also, I've also seen executive directors try to serve too many people at once. They're a lot of these executive directors are mission driven, and so they want to help everyone. They want to help as many people as possible, and so they end up overcommitting themselves, really, and overcommitting their team as well. I've seen that, experienced that too, overcommitting their team, and it leads to exhaustion. It leads to just being overworked. And the reality is you can't serve everybody. Okay, you have to just kind of put some limits on who you can serve so that um, you, the executive director, and your team are not overworked. All right. Um, Next error that I see is lack of marketing. Okay. I see, little to no marketing and outreach to those who would benefit from it. And, this includes providing updates on what the nonprofit is doing, what they've accomplished. This includes, not really being vocal about, their mission and what they're going to do. And I'm going to be honest, like I'm with some of the nonprofits, I'm always surprised at how many people they serve, because they serve a lot of people, but there's not a whole lot of marketing that's done. So, and maybe that's the reason nonprofits don't market, is because they're already serving a lot of people. But I still think it would be beneficial so that people can see what they're doing, and especially with donors, like or potential donors. If people see what you're doing and what you've accomplished, they are more apt to donate to your cause, and that's more funding coming in. All right, so I definitely believe in marketing, putting yourself out there, putting your name out there so that people know, who you are and what you've accomplished. So hopefully that has helped. Again, these are things that I've seen in my experience with working with nonprofits. It doesn't mean that these are the only errors or that all these nonprofits have these type of errors. This is just what I've seen on a pretty consistent basis. All right. So hopefully this video has been helpful for you. Let me know what you all think. If you're watching via YouTube, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.